Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Alyssa Granlin, also known as author Alyssa Lund, and I'm the founder of ReaderCrate. And we are a cozy mystery subscription box community for readers who love warmth and comfort and great stories delivered right to their door. So this week, we're going to feature our USA Today bestselling author, Traci Andrighetti, and we're going to be talking about her hilarious cozy mystery, Limoncello Yellow, and the Franki Amato series, and I cannot wait to dive in. But before we bring Traci on, just a few quick news items for you. First of all, be sure to like and share this video so you can be entered in a gift crate. I'm going to be doing a drawing for a crate of goodies from ReaderCrate. And also tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from, because we'd love to see where our cozy mystery community is, because we're from all over and it's so fun to share. Now, if you're new here, welcome. We're thrilled to have you. Every month we feature cozy mystery authors. I interview them and we share your questions with the author. We also receive autographed books from the authors, and these are part of our cozy mystery crates, and it's really fun to collect them, and at the end of the year to have a group of books that were signed by your favorite authors. So if you're interested in that, you can go to our readercrate.com and you can get on the list for our January crate. December, we're done with sales there, but we are getting people signed up for January. And a quick heads up, we're also running a Black Friday special right now. So if you want to grab today's box, it's the perfect time. You can buy a one-off, don't have to sign up for a membership on the ReaderCrate, readercrate.com website. Also, if you're on our newsletter list, you're going to get updates on our giveaways, including our upcoming 12 days of Christmas giveaway. And that's going to be for 12 lucky readers. You can sign up again at readercrate.com under the freebies tab. And under that tab, I've also added some free downloads of my books and a 2026 reading tracker for anybody who likes keeping track of the books that they read. All right, so let's jump in. I am so excited to introduce today's featured author, Traci Andrighetti. And Traci is the USA Today bestselling author of the Franki Amato mystery series, which is, I can tell you, is a laugh out loud cozy crime collection filled with quirky characters, Italian flair, and plenty of New Orleans charm. So as you can see, we've got our fun Mardi Gras beads on from New Orleans. Yeah, compliments of Traci. And so anyway, her debut novel was The Limoncello Yellow, and it quickly became a fan favorite for its humor and warmth and funny amateur sleuth Francesca Amato. All right, so before becoming a full-time author, Traci taught Italian, and she worked as a graduate student, and her love for Italian culture adds flavor to everything that she writes. Plus, I know there's a lot more backstory we're going to get into. When she's not crafting mysteries, she's reading, she's researching, and she's savoring all things Italian. So let's welcome Traci to the show today. Hi, Traci.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me, Lissa. I'm so excited.
I'm so glad to have you here. All right, so let's just dive in. All right.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you've got a PhD in applied linguistics and you formerly taught Italian. So how did you make the transition from academia to writing cozy mysteries?
It's kind of a funny story. I was bored in my job. Well, I'll tell you that I hear a lot of static, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I don't know if it's me doing this or what I'm doing. It's probably me. But I was teaching Italian at the University of Texas. I went to I live in Austin still, and there was an Italian club. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'll join. So I joined this club and they were having a dinner. I went to the dinner and it was at a big Italian restaurant, actually a Sicilian restaurant. And recruiters took the microphone and said, does anybody here speak Italian? Because we work for a major technology company and we are desperate for Italian speakers. And everybody pointed at me. And I wasn't interested, but I took the card. And then weeks later, just one thing led to another, and I was curious, so I called and I said, "Is the job still open?" And they said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "Yes, because I'm calling you." And then that's how I went to work for this company. So major tech company. I took the job. It was very fun. I was, basically in Italian support, I guess I would say. So I was talking to Italians all the time. Like, it was hilarious. It was lots of fun. Some very famous Italians, in fact. And uh, then I got promoted way up the job chain because of my PhD. So basically, the Italian job was like, get me in the door, and then they promoted me. It was not that fun. So I started missing academia and writing a mystery. And I never, ever, ever intended to publish Limoncello. I call it Limoncello. I thought I called it my anti-dissertation, and it was just a private thing for me, and just it got published by kind of accident, kind of on purpose. I know that sounds mysterious.
Yeah, you're gonna have to tell us more about that.
I I will. I long story short, I started writing it, and the teacher, I took a class, an online class out of New York, and the teacher, Kristen Harmel, at the time was an international best-selling author, and she's gone on to become a New York Times best-selling author. You should check out her books. But she was working for People magazine at the time, like writing books and teaching this class. She said, this is really good. Like, you should find a mentor. You should, kind of keep working on this. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I would like mentoring. I'm probably will never probably publish this one, but maybe something else, right? After I learn more. So I she said, sign up for an online organization, something like that. They'll have mentors. So I reached out to one, and they were like, we're currently closed to members. However, there's a contest you should sign up for. And the prize is like a month of mentoring. So I signed up for the contest, and it was something Gemma Halliday was doing. And then she read it and said, I didn't win the contest, but she offered to publish it. And then
Oh,
she said, is there any chance this could be a series? And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. I never thought about that, but I had one other title. And so I said, I was thinking about actually doing one called Prosecco Pink, maybe, but it's a title that I sort of threw. And she goes, love it. Let's do it. So that's how it happened. But yeah, I wasn't really ready. Like, I just wasn't ready.
oh,
But I went ahead with it. And here I am, like 10 books later, wondering how I got here,
that's
sort of.
awesome. It's wonderful. That's great. Well, so this kind of leads us to the next question, which is that your tagline is cocktails, color, and crime, right? So we've heard two cocktails, right? So already.
Yes.
And so with an Italian twist. So where did that model come from, and how does it influence your storytelling?
It really, like, I guess I would say it really just applies to the Frankie mysteries in a sense. And in fact, I'll talk about this later. I'm working on a new series, and so I've decided to change it up just a little bit, the tagline. But
Okay.
that one, it really started, I think, like on my honeymoon when I was introduced to limoncello. I was in Rome. I was introduced to it for the first time. And apparently, I liked it so much that when I went to that same restaurant 4 years later, a waiter that had been working there 4 years before went to the freezer. They had like an open freezer in the restaurant, and he actually like put his arms like across the door like he was protecting the limoncello for me. Y'all, I didn't have that much, I promise. But I just kept going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was so excited about it that they remembered me 4 years later. So I was thinking about that and just that experience, and I thought, somehow lemons, limoncello, that intense flavor, that needs to be a theme of whatever I write, whatever I do. I love culture, I love language, obviously, I love Italian language, obviously. And I just it kind of I was like, what could I do with limoncello in a title? And then it rhymed with yellow, and it is yellow. And the motto kind of came out of that because Gemma said, "Hey, let's make this a series." And so the next one was Prosecco Pink. And then after that, I think it was Amaretto Amber and Campari Crimson. And it goes on and on. And so there's always a cocktail or there's a liqueur or a wine, and it's related to the murder, but you don't know how until you read the book. It's not actually necessarily a drink sometimes. But still it's related. Obviously, crime is a feature of cozy mystery, and color. You can tell. I think there's the covers. I love bright colors. Everything, and color to me is also fun. It's also culture. It's so
That's so
that's kind
great.
of how I came up with it. And then the twist, what I think I said, like with an Italian twist, because the characters are there's so much of Italy and New Orleans, which doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but actually Sicilians are a huge, huge part of New Orleans history, past and present. And so, yeah. And I'm not
Absolutely.
Sicilian, by the way. My dad would probably want me to clarify that his family comes from outside of Venice. So,
Okay.
uh, but here in Texas and especially New Orleans, like that's where it's largely Sicilian American. So
That's great. Well, now, before we hopped on, you were telling me that you have hundreds of different Mardi Gras beads. So I didn't even ask you about this, but tell us about that. What kind of started your
I think I've
fascination
got
with all these fun beads?
again, colorful and fun. So this is like here's like this one. I'll just show you this one. It has beignets on a plate and
Oh,
like chicory coffee from like
oh,
Cafe Du Monde, basically. Of course, I have I Heart Italians because I do heart them. This one, a man in a walking crew, the crew of Cork, which is a wine crew, took it off his neck and put it around mine. So I keep this one. It's got corks on it.
oh,
Those are good ones when like you get an actual one from a crew. And then this one has like New Orleans street names. Here's St. Peter Chartres, Charters, as they say. Royale. I don't know. I just think they're again colorful and fun, and it's an easy souvenir, and there's so many different ones. And then also like a thing I like to do if I'm sending a book to somebody, I like to include Mardi Gras beads because it's kind of more in the spirit of New Orleans to wear them while you're reading the book.
yeah.
So hopefully people do that. I don't know if they actually do, but I do send them.
Oh,
And then I was also telling Alyssa that I even have like a Mardi Gras Christmas tree wig that I have worn. There's a mask up here. I'm gonna see if I can. It's like I think it's like it's drunk. One second, because it's like kind of tippled over a little bit, tipped over, it's tipple. Right there. There's like
oh,
I put babies on it. There's king cake babies somewhere.
oh, very good.
I think there, and then maybe I just put one.
Well,
Because yeah,
that's
oh
all there
yeah,
should
there it
be,
is.
right? Just one.
Yeah, exactly. There he is. There he is right there, kind of on the back.
Oh,
Um, oh, and there's like a bow. I have a lot of crazy New Orleans wigs. That's another funny thing about New Orleans that I just think it's just a very different way of life. And like I always say, I feel like they live their lives a lot more than we do here. For example, I was just there for the Anne Rice celebration of life, like 4 years delayed at
oh,
the
wow.
Orpheum Theater. And
Wow.
so it was on All Saints Day, which is November 1st. And so I was there the day before for Halloween, and like everywhere across the city was the witches' brunch. So
Wow.
restaurants across the city. And I was like, what is the witches' brunch? And it's basically local women who dress as witches that day, and they meet. And I was talking to one woman, and she goes, "Yeah, you go, all your friends will be there. Everybody, it's just a funny thing we do. There's no presents, there's no cooking. We just show up for a brunch because it's Halloween and we're in costume. Why not?" So I don't know. They have so many things like that. Like everybody's heard of Mardi Gras, but there are so many things like that that I'm not like that was a Friday afternoon on Halloween day. I mean, what are you doing Friday afternoon on Halloween day, right? You're not at a witch's brunch.
Mhm.
And the whole city was just doing that. Like it's just we don't have that sort of thing here, and I wish so much we did.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so you don't live there, so but you spent a lot of time there, is that true? Or did you
Yeah,
live
and
there at some
I go
point?
a couple times a year.
Okay.
I'm usually there for some reason or another. Oftentimes I say it's to research a book, but not necessarily. You know, it started though when I was a kid. We actually lived in West Texas, and my dad wanted Italian food. And you know, this was pre-internet, pre-online ordering, pre any of that stuff. And so we had a station wagon, and he would put a couple coolers in the back, and we would drive to New Orleans. And I think my fascinate because there's that store, Central Grocery there, which is home of the muffaletta, if you've heard of that. And I think my fascination started with it when I was maybe 12. And one time to get to Central Grocery, he went down Bourbon, when you could drive on it. You can still sometimes, but he went down Bourbon, and it was daytime. And so I didn't see anything shocking except that there was a strip club. And this is where my character, Glenda O'Brien, Frankie's ex stripper landlady, comes from. There was a strip club called Big Daddy's, which it's no longer there. But it was for many years. And there was this two holes in the wall. And so from inside the strip club, two legs would come out, and they were plastic, but it was like a woman on a swing, and all you would see is these like mannequin legs with high heels like coming in and out like they were on a swing. And I was like, what was that? And so when I was in college, I went back with friends, and I went to, I went and stood there and just watched those legs swinging out to kind of find out what that was about.
That's
But
funny.
yeah, Glenda was inspired from a different funny trip. And that, of course, is what I call it Mademoiselle's, but it's Big Daddy Strip Club for
Well,
sure.
she is such an amazing character. I really enjoyed her. She's just so, I mean, just I don't even know.
Well, yeah, I know. And it's why did I even think of her? I think it was because on a subsequent trip, so I had a friend who went to law school at Tulane, and I went to visit her. And it was really early one morning. We were going to a breakfast place in the quarter, and we had to cut across Bourbon Street. And this might be too much information, but I needed a ladies' room pretty desperately. Um, Bourbon Street was closed. I mean, it was just closed. But there was a man standing outside of Big Daddy's, like hosing off the sidewalk. And so I just could not wait. I said, by any chance, sir, can I use the restroom? And my friend Joanna was horrified. Like, even though it was closed, she was like, "You can't go in there. That's a
Yeah.
strip club." And I was like, "Joanna, I'm sorry. I've got to go." And again, it was closed, right? So I went inside. It was dark. And two things. The first thing I saw, and I did this on purpose, I actually passed the bathroom because there was also a sign. Oh God, this is terrible. I can't wait until there was a sign outside of Big Daddy's that said, "Wash the girl of your choice." And you know, that's illegal. Like in strip clubs, you cannot touch the dancers. And so I was like, what? And what would that even be? So I'm heading in the dark towards an obvious sign for a bathroom. And I happen to see a plastic shower just kind of there. So I like pass the bathroom, I go to it. Oh, it was so horrible. They had cut like two holes and taped gloves so that somebody could stick their hand in a glove and grab a shower nozzle and just spray it. Yeah, yeah. I know. Y'all are like, what did I just join here? But that's so that okay. So I see that, and then I run to the bathroom, and I didn't know that the bathroom was the stripper's dressing room.
Mm.
So I go in, and I think it's just a bathroom, but no, there was an array of women in various stages of dress and undress getting ready for the, I guess, the day shift, getting for ready for it to open. And there was only one place that was yeah, to go to use the restroom. And I just was like, I can't, how am I going to get out of here? And they pointed to it. A woman, an older woman, talked to me and said, over there, sugar, something like that. It was, yeah, it was over there, sugar. And it was just out in the open. And I was like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. No matter how bad the situation is. But how do I get out of here without offending them? Right? Because my mother did teach me manners. And the answer came to me when the door burst open. A man comes in holding the biggest bucket of Popeye's fried chicken at like 8:30 a.m. and they all just like attacked it and I like just skittered out the door. But yeah, so that woman that was telling me where the the toilet was like, and that's who Glenda was
Well,
inspired by.
oh my gosh, that's a good excuse to get into Big Daddies, right? You got to see it.
I did. I did. And it literally, this was pre the books. I never thought I was going to write at that point, but I mean, that's a memory you don't forget. It's not something that I live on an average day. And so
Well,
everybody who wonders, that's where Glenda came from.
we've got a comment here. Madeline says, and this is why she's your number one fan. She also
Oh my
said your
gosh.
childhood wins.
My friend Joanna was not my biggest fan at that moment. She was like, "What have you done?"
Oh, that's so funny. That is hilarious. Well, okay, so you kind of hinted at it. So let's get into this. You said that something about you were going to change your tagline. So tell us a little bit about that.
I think it's gonna be I say this now, quirky comedy mysteries. I promise I have not had any limoncello, y'all. Quirky comedy mysteries with a splash of color. Because I am finally doing something that I said I was gonna do for years and years and years. It's actually happening. I am writing a series set in Italy. It's an amateur sleuth, so no more detective because I do not know detectives. No, I mean Frankie isn't really a detective. She's a private investigator, but um I it's an amateur sleuth. She is actually Frankie's cousin Giada. She does not know how to cook, even though her name sounds like Giada De Laurentiis, but that was on purpose. And she's going to be leading luxury food tours throughout cities in Italy. The first one is set in Pompeii. The second is, I know people say Capri, I say Capri. Capri, Cannoli, and Conspiracy. There's a pre-order up for it that I have told no one about. Because I'm like, are you really going to do this, Tracy? But the pre-order is up, so I will, I promise. But yeah, I'm calling it the Pasta and Piazza Mysteries because it's like the title, like the next one is called Rome Ravioli and Revenge, right? Milan, manicotti, and murder. You get the theme. There's like a
Yeah,
pasta or like
yeah,
cannoli. It's pasta, right?
yeah.
The shell, technically. But yeah, so I'm finally doing that. And I'm hoping in December to have a free short story available that I'm gonna give away in my newsletter. Just to kind of introduce people to it. Again, that one will be set in Pompeii. The pasta is paccheri, which is or paccheri, which without the accent, and it's like smooth ravioli. Excuse me, smooth rigatoni. So
Oh,
rigatoni has little ridges and they're sort of big and round. The paccheri are smooth, and the name comes from like slap, basically like an Italian regional term for slap. Because it's like a big slap in the mouth, basically, something like, I don't know. I'll go into that in the story. But I'm excited about it. But yeah, the cocktail thing didn't really work, even though clearly they're in Italy, so they'll have wine with dinner or whatever they'll have. Of course, there'll be Aperol spritzes and things like that. But it's no longer that tagline had to change because it's no longer the theme.
okay.
But
So
I'm
what's
excited
your
about it.
well, it sounds really fun. What's the timeline on the pre-order? When do you think you'll have the book out? What are you thinking?
It releases next June. I
Okay.
did that on purpose because June is my birthday month, and
Oh,
I thought like that would be a nice gift to myself to finish it right before my birthday. And say like it's finally out there.
Wow.
Um, Frankie will make an appearance in some of them. And in fact, in the short story that I'm writing, she's technically on her honeymoon in Rome at the moment. So she does make an appearance because her cousin is in Pompeii at the start of it, and she's in Rome. So there are some phone calls.
Sounds pretty
Um,
fun.
but what else did I want to say about it? I think that's it. But yeah, I told readers ages ago that I would do this, and I'm glad to say that I finally am.
Good. Good. Yay. Well, I'm going to go put in a pre-order for it. Okay. So in your bio, it mentions that you might have a book in development for TV.
That I mean, I think that's old. So
Oh,
so Limoncello Yellow was optioned by someone for a possible television project. It just did not work out.
wow.
And so it's a bummer,
Yeah.
but probably for the best. Some of the people that I know who it's very exciting, I think, to have a series like on television or as a film. However, one author I know, and I can't say her name, but she actually got involved in it and then backed out because it meant she would have to move to Los Angeles.
Oh,
And yeah,
yeah.
I would never do anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big deal.
Sorry, Los Angeles.
Well, if
You're
it's just
better
not
off without me.
where your whole life is, so.
Yeah, it would be really hard for
Well,
me to do right
okay.
now.
So when you're kind of starting a new mystery, what's your process? Do you start with the
The
setting, with the
the
characters, the crime?
For the Frankie books, it was always the cocktail or the liqueur, the wine, and trying to figure out what could a mystery be related to it, because it you can't have somebody drinking a drink and dying every book. And in fact, I don't know that I ever actually even did that. So that's how I would think about Frankie. Now, with the Italian series, it's the pasta. And thinking about like how, again, it's like the cocktail, right? They can't drop dead every time they eat a pasta. It just, although I don't know, I think things like that always happen to Jessica Fletcher, right? I feel like I feel like big time suspension of belief could work for this series, but um yeah, I focus on that, and then the pasta name and the liqueur or wine name. For the liqueur wine name, all of those were in New Orleans except one. There was book 7. I did do Venice. I was asked to do a Venice book, and just readers. I asked readers at one point to vote, because so many people were like, send Frankie to Italy, send Frankie to Italy. And so I did a poll in my newsletter, and Venice beat Rome just ever so slightly. So and yes, I do take reader requests, by the way. And also another thing I do, readers who email me and tell me a funny story, if it's funny enough, I ask their permission to use it. And I'm going to give you remind me to give you Antoinette's example in just a second. But to finish the series, like how I pick the murder for the Pasta and Piazza mysteries, the setting is already determined because it has to go with the pasta, right? Like Rome ravioli, Milan murder, right? Capri cannoli. That so but I start there, like what happened? Who died? Why can I make it interesting? How can I tie the local culture in? Because like I said, I'm really big on that. And I'm very fortunate to have traveled in Italy extensively, and so I have a lot of amazing things that I've seen and experienced that I want to share for people who can't go, and people who can. But the back to the I do like use funny stories. So because I have written about Frankie's crazy Italian family, I hear from people who have similar stories, incredibly like similar nonnas or similar moms, or funny of just a funny Italian or Sicilian family story they want me to know. But one woman, Antoinette, I was like, I have to use this. She was talking about a time that she was driving and she didn't realize it, but she actually cut into a funeral procession, because she had to get off at this exit that was coming up. And again, she was mostly focused just on getting across into that lane and getting off. So when she did that, half of the funeral procession followed her and she was horrified. She was horrified. And so she panicked. And in her panic, she just started taking a bunch of like left and right turns, thinking, like, I have to lose these. Have to lose the funeral procession. And like she was like, no matter what I did, they kept finding me, or like, or she would like go one way, and all of a sudden the whole line would be on this other street. I mean, it sounded like something from a hilarious but
Oh my
sad, right?
God.
Like, so she said, I said, what did you do? And she said, I finally had to pull over and tell them, like, I'm so sorry. I was just exiting the highway. I'm not with the funeral and I don't know where the funeral is. Like,
Oh
so I
no.
was like, I have to use this. And I did. So I heard, it's funny when you write comedy, you hear the people who email me are in many instances way funnier than I am.
Oh.
Way funnier than I am. And they have like I should write a book someday on the stories that I've received.
Yeah, you could do a book of letters or something. That would be so
Yeah.
fun. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so okay, so what is maybe one fun fact that you've discovered while you were writing that surprised you and might be of interest to people that are listening?
That one's really easy. So when I was writing book 4, Campari Crimson, just the name of it, I was like, this sounds like a Halloween in New Orleans kind of mystery. And so I started researching it, and I was working with I was still at the tech company at the time. And all of my teammates at this point were really excited about my books. And they all said, will you put us in a mystery? So I'm putting them in a mystery. So they're actively involved. And one guy said, Campari Crimson, that's got to be like a vampire mystery. And I was like, I don't know anything about New Orleans and vampires, right? I know like voodoo. I know, like, you know what I mean? That jazz. I was like, what, vampires? I start researching it, and I discovered that New Orleans has the second largest population of people living as vampires
Oh,
in the nation.
yeah.
Second only to, I wonder if you can guess. Just name another city in the United States that you think might be a place that would have vampires.
Hmm.
People living as
I
vampires.
would say New York.
Baltimore. And so I started laughing so hard. Like I just was like, okay, this is comedy. Baltimore and New Orleans. It makes absolutely no sense. And that's the kind of thing, and that is another part of my process. So after I sort of have the murder, I start researching and I just kind of try to find like what kooky, unexpected, like thing can I find related to this that people are going to go, she made that up. And I'm going to say, no, I didn't. And that was it. I was like, so that will always be the number one thing. And related to that, when I was researching the book, everybody probably remembers the series Twilight, the vampire series, and they were like sparkly vampires. Well, I found an Italian, like their New York Times news article, about the Vatican actually hiring more exorcists because of the sparkly vampires. They were very, very concerned that the sparkly vampire was like too appealing to too many people, and it was going to like encourage other people to live as vampires. So they actually stepped up their exorcist pool, the Vatican, in response to Twilight. So all of these things, like I was like, this has to go in the book,
For
right?
sure.
Because
Yeah.
Franki's Catholic Nona is very in touch with what's going on at the Vatican. So that's a huge part of the process, a big part. Can I find some kooky, quirky thing that nobody's going to believe is real?
That's really good. So, all right, your stories kind of celebrate small town vibes and the Italian family dynamics, we've said, and kind of bold characters. But how do you balance kind of that cozy with the suspense, not getting too dark? How do you do that?
I mean, I think a couple of times I maybe didn't. Campari Crimson was one. It got a little bit dark. Um, Maybe the Venice book, Valpolicella Violet. I'm trying to remember. But I mean, cozy ultimately for me is no swearing, no sex,
Mm-hmm.
and no gory violence, no gratuitous violence. So those are the things I stick to. Um, Also because my mother reads these books and she tells my dad. So who doesn't read them because they're women's books, but he wants to know everything that's going on in them, and he wants to make sure that I was funny. By the way, he's the one who pressured me to publish Limoncello Yellow when Gemma approached me, because my reply to Gemma Halliday when she said, I want to publish this, my literal first sentence was, are you sure? Because I haven't finished it and I've never written a book before. But my dad was like, yes, yes, because I kept my maiden name. When I got married, I was teaching Italian at the University of Texas. My husband's last name is German. And I was like, I think I need to keep the Italian name. Right. And so my dad was like, of course you're going to publish that thing, and then that's also why I have such a hard to spell last name, y'all. I couldn't offend my father and like make up a cool pen name, although I really, really wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't want that. So back to the point of the question though, the cozy thing. I just kind of try to stick to the major tenets, but like I said, a couple of times, know that I did it all that well. But to do the story justice, sometimes you have to break a little rule or two. So, but yeah,
Well,
I didn't have any complaints about that. I've never had anybody contact me and say, the vampire one got a little dark. I'm not, I was turned off by that. I've never heard that, but everybody is usually really seriously gracious and funny when they email me. So
yeah.
maybe they just don't have the heart to tell me. I don't know.
I don't know. It looks like you've got some pretty strong fans that are on that are on today. So it's
Oh,
really,
it's wonderful.
yeah,
Who?
it's really nice. Claudia, yeah, let's see here. That's what I can see right here. But, yeah. Okay, so next question. I found when I was researching some questions for you that you said in another interview that writing is kind of a form of escapism for you. So, and that's a big thing for me too, and for reading and that type of thing. But what do you hope that readers will take away after turning the last page of one of your books, one of your mysteries?
Um, I hope that the story either took them to the place, right? Because they haven't been able to go, they can't go, or it inspires them to go. Because I feel like it's so important to get out there and meet different kinds of people. So I love quirky characters because as I look around life, and I'm thinking of like, a Walmart or something, right? Like, I mean, if you just look around, there's quirky people all around you. We have quirky people in our families where, Thanksgiving's coming up, y'all. And there I've never really met anyone in my life who didn't have something I found charming or endearing, or didn't have a lesson for me to take from them, or didn't have something that just made me a happier, better person for having met them. And I mean that honestly. I'm talking even extremely difficult people that I've encountered. I've always been able to see like that one good thing, or take a lesson from that in difficult, complicated relationships even. And so that's kind of what I want people to take from them, is just um, enjoy people, Try not to judge people and places, because I know a lot of people do not like New Orleans. They don't approve of voodoo. They don't approve of the drinking. They don't approve of the strippers, on Bourbon Street, right, and elsewhere. And I I think life is a lot more complicated than that, and I try not to judge other people's choices or the ways that other people live. I try to understand the why behind them, and it helps me embrace it a little bit more myself. I mean, not maybe live that way in all instances, but just gives me a little bit broader perspective and appreciation for people and different tastes, and different ways of doing things. And I hope that that's what people take from it. Just maybe it's not, maybe New Orleans isn't my place to go, but um I've seen some things, they've maybe seen some things in my books that make them appreciate it for what it is, even if they still choose not to go.
Right. That's great. Yeah, it does feel like you were there. I mean, you did a great job painting the picture of it. In fact,
Thank
I had
you.
a question. The store in the first book where the voodoo is that based on a real place or was
The
or
voodoo store?
yeah,
Yes, that's Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo,
okay.
which is on Bourbon at Saint Anne, the corner.
Okay.
So yeah, it is a real place. I named it, I called it something different. And
Mhm.
and I do that sometimes, but most of the time I actually use the real place name, honestly. But yeah, sometimes I don't know, like there was something in that story that I changed it, and made up a different person. But yeah, it's Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to go check it out. I wanted to
Oh,
go.
you can, and
Yeah.
it's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just there once again
Oh,
in October, and it's just every bit as creepy.
that's so funny. All right. So let's see here. Okay. For new readers, people who maybe haven't been introduced to you until today, is there a particular book that you'd recommend as kind of the perfect hello to what you've got going on?
I think you have to read Limoncello Yellow, just because it was my first book. And if I could rewrite it, there are some things I would do differently. That book, because when I entered the contest, I had written exactly 5 chapters, I think out of 24 or 25 chapters. Um, Gemma was like, "Don't worry, I can help you. I'll critique the chapters as you write it." And then my teacher, Kristen Harmel, like actually agreed to read the rest of the chapters after the class ended. And so I had 2 different New York Times bestsellers, commenting on it. And when I liked their choices or their suggestions, I incorporated them. Sometimes I didn't. Some of the ones I incorporated, I probably wouldn't now. And some of the ones that I didn't, maybe I would add. I don't know, but
Mhm.
just it really is, I think, an introduction to this world and this character and her crazy family and her landlady. And I've even though you could technically read the books individually, there is like an overarching thing that goes from book to book where with the family that you kind of need to be there from the beginning for.
Okay. All right. So start with the first book.
Yeah, I would.
All right. So let's see here. So now I'm going to do a little lightning round with you.
Oh gosh, I'm
All right.
terrible at
Okay.
this. Who knows what I'm going to
All right.
say?
So coffee or prosecco when you're writing?
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay. What's your favorite sleuthing setting? So beach villa, alpine villa, Italian countryside. For
I
your
would
book.
say for real city, just a real city. I when I wrote I for Danger Cove, Gemma's Danger Cove series, I really struggled with it because it's a fake setting, and I know that that's a big thing in cozy, but it's just not me.
Mhm.
It's just
Okay.
not me.
Okay. So how about when you're picking a book, like for yourself? What makes you pick the book? Is there a certain thing you're attracted to?
I you know how they say don't judge a book by its cover? I do. And so if there's like a super bright, colorful cover, there's a lot of little free libraries. I have one, but there's a lot in my neighborhood. And when I'm walking my dogs, I'm like, ooh, what's that? If I see like a kind of like a bright, shiny object.
Yeah.
kind of thing. So that, but also, a lot of the times because I have writer friends, they're constantly saying, "Oh, you should read this." So I don't know. You've heard of Leslie Langtree, probably the Mary Rath mysteries. She said, "Oh my God, Tracy, the funniest book I read this year is called Tartufo, and it's like which is the Italian word for truffle, and it takes place in a little Tuscan village that's dying until they find the biggest truffle ever found, and it's by an author called I don't know if she says Kira or Kyra. It's Kira Jane Buxton. I know she won many awards for her first book. I'm telling you, she needs to for Tartufo because it is so funny. So yeah, like bright shiny cover or another author is like, Tracy, this has you written all over it.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So if your character could pick a soundtrack for their investigation, what would it be? So,
Sergio Leone, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. That,
okay.
everybody knows that the spaghetti western
Yeah.
kind of song. Yeah, absolutely. I even talk about that song in a couple of the books.
Okay. Perfect. What's your guilty pleasure snack?
Nutella straight from the jar, like
Oh, my
Frankie.
goodness.
I
Huh?
don't, yeah. And my audiobook narrator actually in one of the books, Frankie's wedding favor, the Italian word for that is bomboniere. Her wedding favor is little jars of Nutella and a shovel spoon because when I was in Umbria in a little town and they served me a little espresso and the spoon was like a little shovel, and I was like, there are shovel spoons, and my audiobook narrator thought it was so funny that I had never seen this. So Frankie's wedding favor is a little jar of Nutella with a spoon shaped like a shovel. She had one made for me. This
Oh,
woman, her name is Madeline Rozek. She's funnier than I am. I've been trying to get her to write her own books and stop narrating mine. Well, I want her to narrate mine because she's so good. But um, yeah, she makes things for me and orders things for me that are based on my books. So watch my Facebook page in December because she sent me a package for this last book that I laughed for about 3 days off and on. You know how you kind of catch sight of something and you start like giggling? I mean, she really outdid herself this last time.
well, she's on the stream too.
Oh,
She's here.
no, it's three different things. Even the little gift tags for them was hilarious and perfect for the book. And I'm going to be featuring each one because I was like, oh my God, this woman, again, funnier than me, but also um, more clever than I am and takes the time to like order these things or make these things or hunt for these things and buy them. And these they deserve to be out there in the world and not just in my home. So
So where are we going to be able to see this on your Facebook
I'm
page?
going to put them on my Facebook page like throughout the month of December. And then I'll include them in my newsletter, of course. But I mean, they are they are really funny.
Okay, I can't wait. That's awesome. Let's see here. Is there a book that you've reread or could read again? Is there something that you read over and over again?
I'm trying to think if I ever had, not it wouldn't be anything anybody would know. There's an Italian mystery writer who I loved, 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 Andrea Camilleri, and his books were translated into English by a man named Stephen Sartorelli. I know these are hard names, y'all, including mine. Inspector Montalbano, I'm sure you've seen it. Maybe one of the movies even
I
dubbed.
don't know. Maybe.
Well, like I will not reread many things because there are just so many books in the world. But I will reread his. And fun fact, I never read mine. Oh my God, like cringe. I could, sorry, all you people who like them. I write them. I start at the very first word. I like edit as I go. I write it. And when I write the end, it's really the end. And I never look at it again. So, so I have all these people who are like, oh, do you remember when you said this? And I'm like, nope.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I don't.
Oh, I get it. I know I'm going to be speaking at a book club, and So I've got to reread the book before I go. I
Oh
realize.
my God. I
Yeah,
can't do it. I
ask a
can't.
question. Yeah.
I can't
Okay.
do it. More
So
power to you.
yeah. So tell me this. What's your favorite way to celebrate when you finish a first draft?
Um, Oh, it's the draft.
That's what I was,
Remember
I was just
when
going to
I
say.
finish,
I was
when
just going
it's
to say
done.
that when you finish
So
the
what
draft.
I used to do, and I actually have not done it for the last book because I like will not drink Sambuca. It's called, the last book is Sambuca Scarlet. Um, but what I used to do was immediately, or like within a day, I would go with my husband. We would go to some place where I could get a cocktail made with the liqueur or have a glass of the wine. I
Oh,
mean, contrary to the way it sounds, I'm actually not a big drinker. I drink like once a month, maybe twice a month if something really exciting is going on. So it's
yeah.
a big deal for me to like go and, actually have that cocktail. And I have yet to do it for Sambuca Scarlet, which I finished in September. So
Okay.
I'm behind.
All right. All right. So last question. So what would be one piece of advice that you would give somebody who is dreaming of launching like their first book, their first cozy mystery? They want to get started. Anything?
Do it. So, and what I mean by that is this: the absolute best thing I ever saw, writer advice, whether you love Stephen King or not. And I don't read horror. He's not my genre. But he said once, and I don't remember the exact wording, but he said the difference between an amateur and a professional is that the professional finishes the book because everybody hates it. I mean, like I get to a point in every book, and I'm glad Madeline's on the line because the seventh book, Valpolicella Violet, um, I was ready to push the delete button after I finished it. And I was serious. I was gonna do it, and then I thought no, because then you've got a pre-order up. You need to talk to somebody. So I talked to her and she said, like, don't do it. And I literally thank her in the acknowledgments of, or actually the opening like dedication is to her. And it's about her making sure I didn't delete the book. But you guys, everybody has self-doubts. Everybody feels like a fraud. I don't know a writer who has not said that to me. I would be hard pressed to find a writer who didn't feel like the book was terrible at some point during the writing or when it was over. But you know what? You finish it. Um, if you if you have doubts about it, hire a good editor. Have somebody help you work on it. Find a critique partner, a mentor, like I was trying to do when I entered that contest, and which I got actually. But don't not do it. And Madeline, I'm talking to you because you're funnier than I am and you need to write the book. She even started taking writing classes, by the way, and she finished the classes, but I've seen no book. So
Okay, Madeline, you're on the hook. Well, thank you so much, Traci, for spending time with us today. It was really just fun to get a
thanks.
peek into your world and kind of the mayhem behind Franki. And we just really enjoyed talking with you. And thanks to everybody who joined us. We really
Yes, thank
appreciate
you
it.
all.
Yeah. So
Thank you. And
remember,
thank you for having me.
yeah,
Sorry.
you're welcome. No, you're totally welcome.
Okay.
Any last thoughts you want to share? Anything?
Just read, you guys. Find good books and read them. Support your favorite authors, even your non-favorite authors. Just, I don't know. I really wonder what's going on with AI, and everybody make sure you tell Madeline Rozek to write a book because again, she's funnier than I am. Share your gifts, Madeline, and everybody else who wants to write a book. And if you really, really, really are struggling and need words of encouragement, email me. Traci Andrighetti at gmail.com. If you can spell that name, I will respond.
Early in the morning. She responds early in the morning, just so you know.
Yeah. Got to get that done.
Yeah. Well, so remember to like and share the video and to enter our Reader Crate giveaway if you want to get some signed books from our authors, or you can go over to readercrate.com and you can get on our in our Cozy Crime Crate subscription, and sign up for the newsletter so we can get you in the giveaways too. All right. So until next time, everybody, stay warm, stay curious, and keep those cozy mysteries coming. Thanks, Traci.
Thanks all. Bye. Thank you.